These young ladies are serious volleyballers. Yeah, yeah. Who's playing Ballard? That's what Lori wants to know. Oh, who's Ballard playing? Yeah. Well, Cindy's out in the loading zone, so she may not know, but, she seems like if anybody was going to know, it would be Cindy. Oh, Ingram. Oh, right there in the neighborhood. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that could be something. That could be something right there. They're probably sitting there. What I bet they did at the beginning of the game, before anybody said anything, somebody got on the PA in the gym, and they said, "It's Tuesday, 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 the day that time forgot." Or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But it is Tuesday, 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 the day that time forgot, or the day Bill takes 2 shots. All from Lori Trout with the chaser. Thank you, Lori. It's Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. Oh, Lori's niece is playing volleyball for Franklin. Well, there you go. A lot of competition. A lot of intramural student sports going on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday? Really? I know that the baseball playoffs are happening tonight, so we're probably going to lose most of the guys. Most of the guys are probably going to be watching baseball playoffs. I probably would be if I wasn't doing this. But, poetry has to take precedence, Mark Kenny is here. I've seen no other men declare. Yeah, interesting. But it is time for the poetry break. Poetry break. Poetry break. Poetry break. On a Tuesday. Those over there will be safe. Mailbag, people, that's where we begin. Theo's in the house. Hello, Theo. Heard from Theo this week. He was reminding me that I should come into his bookstore, the Couth Buzzard Books and Espresso Buono Cafe. They're in the Greenwood neighborhood, 8310 Greenwood Avenue North, and check out his local poetry section. And Theo, I fully intend to do just that. I do. And I will be buying. I won't be borrowing. No. See? Cindy Clark. Cindy Clark missed us kids. Someone considers us kids. Someone must be off their meds. Just saying. There's John Gorski. Hey, John. How you doing? Without the Mariners to watch, you've lost interest. Well, I understand that. Yeah, the Mariners did not make it through the... They got swept by the Oilers. What are you going to do? John, I feel you. I'm there with you, and we're starting with something that John Gorski sent in this week as we move into the mailbag section of the program. Here's what John had to say. Hi, Bill. I just sent you the Kenneth Koch 1925 to 2002 poem. You Were Wearing. That's the name of the poem. I successfully emailed it to a friend last week. If you don't get it, you can find the poem at the Poetry Foundation and probably print it out. Or I could just look it up in my collected Kenneth Koch, which I didn't do because that book's kind of heavy and cumbersome. So, Kenneth Koch was a member of the New York School of Poetry, which originated in the 1950s and also included John Ashbery and Frank O'Hara. Koch was a native of Cincinnati, my erstwhile hometown, in the 60s and 70s. So there's John's connection to Kenneth Koch, the Cincinnati connection. Yes. So thank you, John Gorski. Hey, Mary Pekka. Mary Pekka's in the house. Always kind of, for me, it kind of makes it kind of classes the place up a little bit. Her and Finn Livingston. If Finn Livingston is, there he is, Finn Livingston. There you go. So if Finn and Mary are in the house, then, I think we all feel a little more like we're dressed a little better than we actually are. So anyway, John sent a poem by Kenneth Koch that was published in Poetry Magazine in May of 1959. Kenneth Koch was doing his thing for quite a while. The poem is called You Were Wearing, and it goes like this. You were wearing your Edgar Allan Poe printed cotton blouse. In each divided up square of the blouse was a picture of Edgar Allan Poe. Your hair was blonde and you were cute. You asked me, do most boys think that most girls are bad? I smelled the mold of your seaside resort hotel bedroom on your hair, held in place by a John Greenleaf Whittier clip. No, I said, it's girls who think boys are bad. Then we read Snowbound together, and ran around in the attic so that a little of the blue enamel was scraped off my George Washington, father of his country, shoes. Mother was walking in the living room, her Strauss waltzes comb in her hair. We waited for a time and then joined her, only to be served tea in cups painted with pictures of Herman Melville, as well as with illustrations from his book Moby Dick and from his novella Benito Sereno. Father came in wearing his Dick Tracy necktie. "How about a drink, everyone?" I said, "Let's go outside a while." Then we went onto the porch and sat on the Abraham Lincoln swing. You sat on the eyes, mouth, and beard part. I sat on his knees. In the yard across the street was a snowman holding a garbage can lid smashed into a likeness of the mad English king, George III. You Were Wearing. It's the name of that Kenneth Koch poem. Yeah. I like Kenneth Koch. I pulled out my collected Kenneth Koch because I wanted to read a couple of other Kenneth Koch poems. We're going to get back to the mailbag, don't worry. But I came to Kenneth Koch pretty late, and I just recently got this collected. I had 2 volumes of his New Addresses and what's the last one? New Addresses and... Come on, Bill, you're supposed to know this. You're supposed to look smarter than you are. A Possible World was, I believe, his last published work, 2002. Anyway, I wanted to read a couple of the addresses, which are kind of ode adjacent. Odes usually address the thing that they are about. Ode to a Nightingale addresses the nightingale, and so on and so forth. So these are ode adjacent because they are called addresses, but they do address the specific thing that they are about, like this one, which is called To Piano Lessons. You didn't do me any good, but being with you was like walking up the stairs of a building whose attic was June. How much promise there is in the arpeggios. If I could do only one fine, I was arpeggio capable, as the notes themselves are music capable, and beauty capable, and capable of ripping into pieces by means of art any previous aspect or attitude. I thought if I could, by art and practice, really hard work, get to you really the way I walked into you, piano lessons, I would make something wonderful of what I had felt and done with my pitifully short existence of too much rush. But I never did. Thanks anyway. You were a partner in an enterprise that didn't work. We lost, but we have moved on. That's To Piano Lessons. Kenneth Koch. From New Addresses. I think there was one or 2 other ones that I wanted. Yes. This is called To Living in the City. He's a New York guy, so, I was surprised. You had bars on the palms of your hands and places to buy neckties. It seemed by the millions. Rudy Burkhart cast his line of photos onto roofs and chimneys. Meyer Lieben drove his car up and down, stopping in to lean out and talk to women. This was 1940s New York, with Delmer Schwartz and Paul Goodman in it. James Laughlin published everyone, while you and I met the poet Jean Garrigue in Sam Abramson's bookstore, which was, I had been told, the only place to buy Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer, and she was very pretty, wearing bright red lipstick, a jacket, pants, and a tie. "Jean Garrigue, you're the poet," I said. "That am I," she knowingly replied. "All right. Living in the city, I'm for you." I said to myself later, when poetry, desire for fame and love and anonymity and full-fledged communism attracted me to you, I found an apartment with Miriam and Peggy in it, and Miriam said to me one night, "I think you'd like my roommate, Peggy." Miriam was right. Later, West 10th Street was right, Charles Street and Greenwich Avenue were right, cold water living rooms and soot floating through the bright, hard-to-push-up windows on 3rd Avenue were right. A woman waits for me on West 17th Street. I run down to my parents who are honking the car. We're supposed to drive home to Cincinnati together. There's no hope. Kenny, my father says, look at you, you're covered with lipstick. Beato me! This was farewell to being any place else. I wanted you. We've been together every night now, almost, for 50 years. Addressed to New York City. Okay, one more Kenneth Koch. Then we'll move on with the mailbag. I got excited, John. You hit a hot button. I mean, it was like this week was a Kenneth Koch-y kind of week for me. I'm not sure if I can say exactly why, but it was. So there you go. Is this working? Is everything going okay? I guess you'd tell me. Yes. To my 20s, this is called. I like this one. To my 20s. How lucky that I ran into you when everything was possible for my legs and arms, and with hope in my heart, and so happy to see any woman, oh my 20th year, basking in you, you, oasis from both growing and decay, fantastic, unheard of 9 or 10 year oasis, a palm tree, hey, and then another, and water. I'm still very impressed by you. Whither, midst falling decades, have you gone? Oh, in what lucky fellow, unsure of himself, upset and unemployable, for the moment in any case, do you live now? From my window, I drop a nickel by mistake. With you, I race down to get it, and I find there on the street instead a good friend, X.N., who say to me, Kenneth, do you have a minute? And I say, yes, I'm in my 20s. I have plenty of time. In you, I marry. In you, I first go to France. I make my best friends in you and a few enemies. I write a lot and am living all the time and thinking about living. I loved to frequent you after my teens and before my 30s. You three together in a bar. I always preferred you because you were midmost, most lustrous, apparently strongest, although now that I look back on you, what part have you played? You never ever were stingy. What you gave me, you gave whole. But as for telling me how best to use it, you weren't a genius at that. 20s, my soul is yours for the asking. You know that, if you ever come back. To My 20s, by Kenneth Koch. This is his collected poems. Many of his individual volumes are still available, so you don't have to go for the thickness if you don't want to, if you just want to try someone. But New Addresses was really my entry point for Kenneth Koch. But like I say, it's been in the last probably 7 or 8 years, I'd say, that I started to really enjoy Kenneth Koch's poetry. So maybe it's an acquired taste. I don't know. I don't know how any of this stuff works. But if you try it, if you like it, there you go. You're in, kind of thing. You find the little niche where you can access it, and if it works for you, then you might feel like, sitting back and having a shot. There you go. Now, the mailbag was pretty light this week. Thank you, Lori. It wasn't Jägermeister, by the way. Jägermeister, you remember Vicks Formula 44 cough medicine? It was supposed to be the world's strongest non-narcotic cough medicine. Well, if you added narcotics in the form of alcohol to Vicks Formula 44, that's what Jägermeister tastes like. Which is why you won't find me taking a shot of Jaeger here in the poetry break. It's just not classy enough for us high-class poetry people. Okay, here's what the hand wrote. I would love you to read one of my favorite philosophical poems. My Sweet William, that's what she calls me. She's called me that for a long time now. She still calls me that, even after, getting to know me and everything. My Sweet William. I was just reading Oh, the Places You'll Go to Silverius, that's a friend of hers, and thought, what a marvelous philosophical poem it is. Have you read it before on the poetry break? I can't remember if you have. words of wisdom. And there's a bunch of X's and O's. Yes, a little Dr. Seuss. We're not going to show the pictures. I forget. Let's not make it reading time. And this is the way she read it to her friend Silverius. It was just the text. So it's called "Oh, the Places You'll Go." Yeah, a little something different. Congratulations! Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who'll decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look 'em over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there, in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And then things start to happen. Don't worry, don't stew, just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers and soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't. Because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in the lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are, then, you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite? Or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind-maker upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start in to race down long, wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place. The waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or the waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting, perhaps, for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape, and all that waiting and staying, you'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banners flip-flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of guy. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame! You'll be as famous can be, and the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when you don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win 'cause you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone will be something. You'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much that you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hack and cracks howl. Onward, up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far, and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So, be your name Boxbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai Ali Van Allen O'Shea, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So, get on your way. There you go. The hand wanted to hear that. And I got to say, it's probably the right thing to do. The hand usually comes up with the right thing to do. I trust her magic. Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel. Oh, the places you will go. That's the name of that. You see, the air gets fluttery. It's like there's a... Wait a minute. Someone is using my poetry break. Someone's using my sparklers. Who is... It's the hand, ladies and gentlemen. The hand is... Ooh, luscious. The hand came in, stopped by to drop off some any special. Sherry and Tim Vernon. Tim Robinson's in the house. Oh man. Okay, Tim, you need to send me more poetry. Yeah, John Gorski, Cindy Snyder, Holly Tuttle, and Kim Nelson. Well. Have we heard from Holly? See, I have been watching the feed. Mary Peckham, Mark Kenny, Lori Trout, Finn Livingston, Theo from the Couth. Theo, I'm sorry I haven't been frequenting the Couth more, but I've got the stack on this side is about that. Well, it's bigger than the screen will show. The stack on this side is more manageable. So maybe I'm just a little overloaded with poetry that I've been ordering a lot of used books. Yeah. Oldmanhood. This is getting fat, but there hasn't been much going in. I was off with my college friends last week over in Spokane, my friend Alan's house, and it was just absolutely so magical. I haven't written about it yet. I feel it bubbling under the surface, so at some point there will be some evidence that I was away for 5 days. That's why we didn't have the poetry break last week. So good to see you, Tim Robinson. Thanks for coming by again, man. Yeah, Tim likes Dr. Seuss. Okay. Well, this should drive Tim out of the room. Here's some of Bill's stuff. Oldmanhood. This is what I wrote while I was at work and emailed it to myself. Don't tell my bosses. No, I was waiting for a couple of faxes to clear before I left for the day. I think I'd already signed off the time clock. So, Oldmanhood at work. Dial back the stimulus and die for your art. Another fire truck at 4:45. This is Wednesday, and all that's happened has come in the door dressed in servant rags. Maybe these women have found some new freedom in the care of themselves after eons of motherly work in the forges of humanity, making us all ready to forge for ourselves out on the high walls of commerce where no one survives. Now there's a moment, late in their days, to put their comfort on its rightful pedestal and right what went wrong in the margins of their petty garments. Their nightgowns are tattered, but their sheets are of the finest weave. They drop the gown before sliding in to where the weighted blankets and feather pillows wrap them in the best shroud their memories can find. The stillness of old manhood is their blanket, their wisdom, their wine. Yeah, I know. It's been weird with old manhood lately. I'm writing a lot in my notebook, but it's mostly crapola. But it reminds me of the interview I heard with Allen Ginsberg. He was being interviewed, and they were in his apartment in New York, and he'd been writing in his notebook. And the interviewer said, "So how many of these notebooks have you filled in your life?" And Ginsberg was like, "I have no idea. Many, many hundreds, I would think." And the interviewer said, "So, of all the stuff that you've written in those notebooks, what percentage of the stuff in those notebooks actually makes it into a poem that we would know, that we would have seen?" And Ginsberg was like, 1%, 2% at the most. So you see, there's a lot of writing that goes into getting the little bits that are memorable, right? So it's just another excuse I'm throwing up there for not having done more. So for me, I'd say it's probably more like, I'd say 8 to 10% of what I write in my notebook these days, because I've been doing this practice of writing every day in my notebook for so long that it's kind of like, kind of the channels have been dug out well enough to, if I clean them out in the spring, like the guys with the irrigation ditches, if I clean them out real good, they're going to flow fine during the season of season of that word, the season of plenty. Yes. We do small service behind the nerve center desk of a small naturopathic practice. Everyone's still masked from the terror and the government we sometimes appreciate, but only the parts that haven't disappeared yet. We help people learn to be stronger, to take ownership of their bodies, and clean out the ignorant, forgotten corners of their minds. It's not for everyone, they say, but it is. So I figured since I, stole a little time to write a poem at work, I should write one about work. So there you go. And that's Old Manhood. What can I say? What can I say, people? What can I say? Now, we are at that point in the program, 7:28 p.m. We're at kind of the crossroads. Do I go this way? Do I go this way? Is Bill Woolham in the house? I haven't seen Bill. I know Bill is maybe traveling. He may be preparing to travel. He's probably watching baseball. So maybe I'll go this way. I wanted to read. Wait a minute. Let me just check over here. A couple of. Oh yeah, there's that. I'm just making sure there wasn't something else over here that I. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, okay. We could go there. See, I was going to dip back into this because of in honor of a conversation that Diane and I had with Bill Woolham. And also Colette Marie on Sunday. This Norton Anthology of Modern Poetry was the very first college textbook I bought when I went to college. Yeah. And I believe it's copyright 1973. I bought it in 1977. It would have been the fall of 77, so it was already an old book by then. But that's the same copy. It's got my name in it. Bill Davie, Alder, room 005, Whitworth box number 299. I can no longer be reached at that address, by the way. and Alder Hall is no longer in existence that I'm aware of. So I wanted to read some Ursula Le Guin. Ursula Le Guin, So Far So Good. This is the last book of poetry that she published in her lifetime. Hey, Jamie Turner, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm glad Jamie's here. I can't believe how many of my old school bus driver buddies I'm still buddies with via this medium. I haven't seen Jamie. When was the last time we saw each other face to face? Was it back at the Lake City lot? I don't know. I think Jamie has come to a couple of my musical programs, which, by the way, there's a couple of those coming up. I'll be playing this Friday with some other great songwriters and singers. Mr. Steve Norris, who is just an amazing interpreter of people's songs. Mike Buckman, great songwriter. Kelly Murphy, great songwriter. The four of us are going to be playing in the round up at the Couth Buzzard Books. That will be Friday night, the 21st, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is the first time I've dared to go out and play. My hands seem to be, they're semi-operational most of the time. So I figure I'll be playing 5 or 6 songs that night. So it'll be a good way to kind of ease back into it. And then the following Thursday, I'll be over once again at the C&P Coffee Company in West Seattle. And I believe that Mr. Bill Woolham, a celebrity here in the Treehouse concerts and the Poetry Break, and also the guy for whom I bought this book probably, one of his classes at Whitworth. He was my first teacher at college. He taught the Writing 1 course. Yeah. And he was also one of my favorite teachers in college. And he's going to be coming over for that gig at the C&P. Also Val Sanford, another one of the my Whitworth alum friends, will be there. So I hope some people can come. I know not everybody is fully comfortable about being in groups of people. What I'm asking is that people mask up. I am asking that. I'm not going to throw you out physically because I'm not capable of that. Maybe someone would throw me out physically, but when I'm not on stage, I will be masking at that show. So however you want to work it, but that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. Ursula Le Guin's last published book, So Far So Good, Final Poems 2014 to 2018. It says in the intro, Ursula sent off her revised manuscript for So Far So Good for copy editing on January 15th, 2018. She died January 22nd. This book, then, is the last collection of her poetry she would edit. It is her farewell. So we're going to start right at the beginning with a little poem called Little Grandmother. A dry-voiced chickadee reproves what's gone amiss. From our crabapple tree, she gazes critically at autumn's entropy and quietly says this: I am chickadee, and things have gone amiss. It's kind of like she's working in rhythm and rhyme all the way through this in just some very interesting ways. I'll read that again. It's called Little Grandmother, so it's like, okay, she's setting a tone here for the book. A dry-voiced chickadee reproves what's gone amiss. From our crabapple tree, she gazes critically at autumn's entropy and quietly says this: I am chickadee, and things have gone amiss. I love that. I love to know, because I've been writing this Oldmanhood thing, and I cannot speak for the female gender, but it's nice to know that there's some geezerdom and maybe some curmudgeonliness amongst the women too. I could say I've witnessed it, but I wouldn't want to claim that kind of knowledge. Here's another one called Words for the Dead. Mouse my cat killed, gray scrap in a dustpan, carried to the trash. To your soul I say, with none to hide from, run now, dance, within the walls of the great house, and to your body, inside the body of the great earth, an unbounded being. Be still. This one's called McCoy Creek, Cattle. Long after sunset, the afterlight glows warm along the rimrock. A wind down off the mountain blows soft, a little chill. I've come to love the quiet sound cattle make cropping short grass. Day and night are much the same to them in the pastures of summer. Cows and calves, they crop and pull with that steady, comfortable sound as the light in the rimrock and the sky dims away slowly. Now no wind. I don't know if cattle see the stars, but all night long they graze and walk and stand in the calm light that has no shadows. I want to read that again. McCoy Creek, Cattle. Long after sunset, the afterlight glows warm along the rimrock. A wind down off the mountain blows soft, a little chill. I've come to love the quiet sound cattle make cropping short grass. Day and night are much the same to them in the pastures of summer. Cows and calves, they crop and pull with that steady, comfortable sound as the light in the rimrock and the sky dims away slowly. Now no wind. I don't know if cattle see the stars, but all night long they graze and walk and stand in the calm light that has no shadows. Yeah. I've got a few more of these to read. All Saints, All Souls, this is called. Little Halloween poem here. This is the day when the saints all go silently to church in France, and over the mountains of Mexico the bare bones dance. Ghosts rise up from graveyard sleep to follow the southward fleeing sun. It is the doomsday of the leaf, the feast day of the skeleton. Yeah. All Saints, All Souls, it's called. This is the day when the saints all go silently to church in France, and over the mountains of Mexico the bare bones dance. Ghosts rise up from graveyard sleep to follow the southward fleeing sun. It is the doomsday of the leaf, the feast day of the skeleton. Yeah. Here's to Ursula LeGuin. If you haven't seen this, Tim, this is an acoustic guitar. It's even got one white end pin, you see? And there's the sound hole, top frets. It's because my friend Lori Trout, who sent me all my shot glasses, sent me this beautiful pewter shot glass from Nashville, Music City, USA. And I was looking at it, and it's all electric instruments, except for one lonely banjo. Not an acoustic guitar on the thing. So I was complaining about that one night, but while still enjoying a shot from the pewter shot glass. So Lori followed up with a working man's acoustic guitar. You know, which one? Any of us who have played acoustic guitar at some point had a mismatched set of end pins in their guitar. Maybe not their most recent guitar, but in their first or second guitar, certainly. Especially if they were gigging a lot. Okay, a couple more from Ursula. This is called McCoy Creek, Wind. The wind beats on the drums of my ears and overturns the chairs, blowing out of all the years we've come here, been here. The bird that says zeep says zeep. Dry pods on the old honey locust rattle. Barbed wire draws straggling lines between us and distant cattle. Rocking like little white sailboats, two hens cross the footbridge. Behind me and before me, the basalt ridges are silent as the air is silent when the wind for a moment ceases. I'll read that again too. McCoy Creek, wind. The wind blows on the drums of my ears and overturns the chairs, blowing out of all the years we've come here, been here. The bird that says zeep says zeep. Dry pods on the old honey locust rattle. Barbed wire draws straggling lines between us and distant cattle. Rocking like little white sailboats, two hens cross the footbridge. Behind me and before me, the basalt ridges are silent as the air is silent when the wind for a moment ceases. I love that, rocking like little white sailboats. Two hens cross the footbridge. I love that. Yeah. There was a time when I almost got rid of this book. I had, what was the other one? 60 Odd. 60 Odd is the other Ursula LeGuin book of poems I had, and I really liked that book. I got this one, and it didn't quite, I don't know, I read the first couple of poems, and it didn't quite hit me the way 60 Odd had. And so I had it in a stack over here that I was going to take back to half-price books or something like that. And I picked it up. I said, I'm going to give this one more chance. And the first poem, that grandmother, what is it called? Little Grandmother, just blew my hair back. I was like, and my hair's been like this ever since. And so I decided to rescue this poem from the soon-to-be lost pile. I'm glad I kept it. I'm going to read two more, okay? And that'll be our evening, I think. Yeah, it's 7:41, right? Cindy Clark's here. Hayden Reese is here. Hey, Hayden. Tim, I wish you... Do you know Hayden? Hayden, do you know Tim Robinson? Tim's an amazing songwriter and also a wonderful visual artist. Works in collage and also he's a painter. You guys should know each other. Hayden Reese is a masterful filmmaker. He's done documentaries about Rumi, William Stafford, Robert Bly. Yeah, 1,000 Years of Joy, the film about Robert Bly. If you haven't seen it, Tim, you should. It's available. Hayden can fix you up since he directed it. So I'm going to read two more. This one's called Six Quatrains. This is like 6 little 4-line pieces, each with a little individual subtitle. 6 quatrains. Autumn. Gold of amber, red of ember, brown of umber, all September. McCoy Creek. Over the bright shallows, now no flights of swallows. Leaves of the sheltering willow dangle thin and yellow. October. At 4 a.m, the west wind moved in the leaves of the beech tree with a long rush and patter of water. First wave of the dark tide coming in. We hope. Solstice. On the longest night of the year in the forests up the hill, the little owl spoke soft and clear to bid the night be longer still. The winds of May are soft and restless in their leafy garments that rustle and sway, making every moment movement. Hail. The dogwood cowered under the thunder, and the lilacs burned like light itself against the storm-black sky until the hail whitened the grass with petals. I gotta read that one again. I'm sorry. 6 quatrains. Autumn. Gold of amber, red of ember, brown of umber, all September. McCoy Creek. Over the bright shallows, Now no flights of swallows. Leaves of the sheltering willow dangle thin and yellow. October. At 4 in the morning the west wind moved in the leaves of the beech tree with a long rush and patter of water, first wave of the dark tide coming in. Solstice. On the longest night of the year in the forests up the hill, the little owl spoke soft and clear to bid the night be longer still. The winds of May are soft and restless in their leafy garments that rustle and sway, making every moment movement, making every moment movement. Hail. Now that's hail as in hail, not hail as in hail, I think. The dogwood cowered. It's probably hail. It's probably hail as in hail. Hail. Now that I think of it. Hail. The dogwood cowered under the thunder, and the lilacs burned like light itself against the storm-black sky until the hail whitened the grass with petals. Sorry, I was thinking of a different poem there. One more. This is from the second section of the book. I read virtually the whole first section. The second section of this book is called Incantations. So I want to read just one of those. Hey, Pam Birdwell, how you doing? Wow. It's cool that people stop in just to say, howdy. Just happened to be passing by. I thought I'd stick my head in and say, hey, I know some of you people. Hey. Anyway, one more from Ursula Le Guin, then I will release the hostages, as they say in the trades. Come to Dust, this is called, from Incantations, from this book. So far, so good. The final poems. Come to Dust. Spirit, rehearse the journeys of the body that are to come, the motions of the matter that held you. Rise up in the smoke of Palo Santo. Fall to the earth in the falling rain. Sink in, sink down to the farthest roots. Mount slowly in the rising sap to the branches, the crown, the leaf tips. Come down to earth as leaves in autumn to lie in the patient rot of winter. Rise again in spring's green fountains. Drift in sunlight with the sacred pollen to fall in blessing. All earth's dust has been life, held soul, is holy. Once more. Come to Dust, it's called. Spirit, rehearse the journeys of the body that are to come, the motions of the matter that held you. Rise up in the smoke of Palo Santo. Fall to the earth in the falling rain. Sink in, sink down to the farthest roots. Mount slowly in the rising sap to the branches, the crown, the leaf tips. Come down to earth as leaves in autumn to lie in the patient rot of winter. Rise again in spring's green fountains. Drift in sunlight with the sacred pollen to fall in blessing. All earth's dust has been life, held soul, is holy. She knew what she was talking about. Yeah. That's Ursula Le Guin. There it is. So Far, So Good, it's called. Yeah. And 60 Odd is really good, too. And that's all the Ursula Le Guin I've got. Maybe there's more out there. I'll be looking. Anyway, maybe, through all of this, we'll sell a few poetry books to some people whose interest has piqued. What do you think? I hope so. Poetry needs new advocates, new patrons, new devotees, as it were, new disciples, if you wish, to couch it in such terms. Anyway, what's next week? Next week is 25th. Sure, we'll be here. We'll be here. Hope we get some of you guys will want to come and hang out. I didn't read T.S. Eliot tonight. I wanted Bill to be here because I wanted to say a few words to him. So maybe he'll be back next week. Actually, no, we'll be here next week. Diane and I are going to be going out to La Push the very last week. Over Halloween, I believe, we'll be at La Push. So there may not be a poetry break that week. Yeah. So I know I'm going to miss a couple, and maybe it seems like they come too freaking. Anyway, there'll be baseball playoffs to watch. So it'll be okay. Thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you for indulging this little personal pleasure of mine. I know it's a personal pleasure for a lot of the people here. So thanks for being willing to tune in, and thanks to the faraway folks like Tim Robinson and Lori Trout and Tim and Sherry Vernon. We're down in Florida. Tim's up in New York, and Lori's in Nashville. Tim and Sherry are actually in Nashville right now doing a little vacation thing with some friends. So Lori, if you see some really weird look, well, it's mostly Tim. So if you see this really weird looking guy kind of bebopping down the street like he's looking for a party, that's probably my friend Tim Vernon. I've known him for 40-some years. Be gentle with him. Yeah. He's never seen the Grand Ole Opry or any of that kind of cool stuff. All right? Thanks, everybody. We'll be back here 167 hours from right now. We'll do this again. Different poems, same weird-looking geezer staring at you. Good night. Have a poetic week.